Hey YouTube, again at my view of the lake on my mountain bike trail. They're chemming it up today, and I feel drawn to go more and just talk more about the journey that I'm on and what that entails and what detoxification is and what that actually means, going more into depth into that, and why it's so important in these times that we're in right now. So I'm outside, beautiful day in Tahoe. It's a little warmer than they want it currently for the snow, for snowmaking operations. So they've been seeding the clouds super heavily, chemtrails, super heavily, right? And this is again this was one of the things that actually woke me up into spirituality and onto this path, I would say, was in high school, just sitting outside and with an open mind saying, like, why are they gridding the sky and then all of a sudden it's gray? Because there's a difference between that and an actual cloud formation, right? So when you start to look into it, if you type in chemtrails on Google, if you look chemtrails up, it would literally say that you're paranoid, that that you think the government is spraying aerosol injections into the sky. But then if you type in stratospheric aerosol injections, radiation management, solar radiation management, geoengineering, cloud seeding, there's countless other names that they have it under, where the government openly admits to doing this, right? Where they use metal particulates, fibers, to seed the sky to make it get more precipitation as storm fronts come through. But the issue is when they're doing it when there's no clouds, and they're doing it they're trying to preserve what little snow we have. But the repercussions are huge, and what we're seeing, if you look at certain areas that are exposed to this, ski area specifically, if you check the soil levels for aluminum and barium, which are what they're spraying, the particulates for safety measures, don't quote me on this, but it was somewhere in the low hundreds, like 200-300, and they're measuring at like 20,000 units of aluminum and barium. So what that's doing to us is that calcifies our bodies, and that physically affects our brain. It dumbs us down. And if we're not detoxifying it, which, I've talked to people about this for years, and I don't really know many people that are doing much about it in their own life, right? Because you can have knowledge, but that knowledge of what they're doing only entails us to be able to protect ourselves to the limits that we're able to go to, or that we're willing to go to for our health, right? For detoxification. So when you start to look at why people have parasites, why are there parasites? They feed in an environment where there's heavy mucus and heavy metals and a lot of acidification. That's where they thrive and they can breed. So when we're not allowing our bodies to detoxify these heavy metals that are accumulating, fluoride in the water, heavy metals in the sky, it's in the food, you start to look at it, they're putting nanobots in the injections, and what that does to people is it messes with our spiritual ability to connect to source and to have higher cognitive function, to be able to question this matrix and why we are doing some of the things that we're doing. Why are we poisoning the planet like this? It is not a natural cloud formation. But to going off on a side tangent there, right? Getting back to my main purpose is, if this is happening, regardless of your stances on it, we live in a toxic world. And if that is the case, then we need to be doing things that are actively detoxifying our bodies, And I'm a huge proponent. I'm still constantly looking for better detoxification methods and different protocols that can enable me to return to a state of optimum health. And what I found is that a lot of these things, even when you start to look at like natural solutions, you're looking externally. You're looking externally for something that will fix you, right? And even if that's a herb or eating a certain diet or whatever, you're looking for something externally that's going to fix the issue. When I think the biggest cure that we have and the biggest healer that we have is our own body's intuitive ability to heal, when we give it the right environment and just stop putting in all the variables. When we stop putting in so much and consuming so much and allow our bodies to settle, that's when we can actually go into a state where we can start to detoxify some of this built up accumulation of stagnation, that affects it. It really does affect every aspect of our life. As we start to clear it out, we start to feel better. We start to feel more energized. We start to feel more clear and more calm. We start to realize how much emotionally, we eat. Like I would say most of the time we're eating, it is due to causative factors of trying to escape from our current emotional output rather than nutritional needs, right? Rather than actually needing. When you look at what we actually need for human consumption, for optimal human health, it would not be a lot, right? And the more that we eat, the more that waste builds up. And unfortunately in our society, we have, especially for males, they look at being like really big and bulky. That's like a big manly thing. That makes you more dense. That makes you more heavy. That makes you less light, right? Less light. And I would rather be more light, as I am a child of light and I am a son of God. I am here on a mission to heal myself and to heal others and to free as many people as I can from this entrapment, and I'm still in it, and I'm still working on freeing myself from all the captivity. But with the information that I have, I can at least point people in a similar path, in a similar direction. The more of us on that path, the better the planet is going to be, the better humanity will be, for sure. So detoxification, it starts with getting rid of the toxins in the body. And I've talked about this in different episode or different interview things that I've done. Hang on one sec, someone's passing, so I'm gonna let them pass. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. And so that would go into the inputs that you're putting in on a daily. Are you consuming more toxins than you're putting out? And for most people, I would say yes. So that leaves you at a net positive for accumulating free radicals in the body, which lead to oxidative stress, which lead to disease. That leads to decay in the body and death, right? So how do we eliminate that? How do we get rid of those? And there's different methodologies here. The cleanest, most astringent, most beneficial, highly energetic, alkaline forming, hydrating foods that we can put in our body is fruit. And the juicier, the more astringent, citrus fruits are really high on that astringency. Grapes, super good. But really, any fruit is going to start to aid in that detoxification. That's the natural diet that we should be eating. We are frugivorous in nature. And as we've strayed away from that, then we have had to face the repercussions of nature, of just really going away from nature in our natural state, which is, frugivorous. And because of that, because we've, saturated, when you start to look at it, it's almost like a form of witchcraft when we cook. You're adding all these things in the pot and mixing it together to make this concoction, this potion that, again, is not natural. When we cook, we're the only animals that cook our food, so we're cooking all the vitality out of the food, and then we're making things that would maybe not be palatable for our body. There's a reason that we would be attracted to certain foods, and that I would want a certain food for my body, because it's craving those essential minerals and vitamins. And then there's certain things that I can get away with eating because I can mask it and make anything taste good when you're a good witch or wizard and you know how to cook up in the kitchen, right? So when you start to look at it like that, it's pretty simple what we should be eating. You give someone a piece of raw meat, no one's really going to be appetized, most people, unless they have a lot of parasites, which we can go into further discussion on that. But you hand me a piece of ripe fruit, damn near anyone, depending on what fruit it is, you might have to find the right fruit for that person, is going to be stoked, right? And is going to be happy and find a lot of bliss in that, just enjoying that ripe fruit. So as we've strayed away from that, what that has led us to do is become way more unnatural, which has led to the development of, again, a super acidic environment, which leads to too much mucus in the body, which leads to parasites. So detoxification, fruits are huge, right? We want to start to eat as close to raw fruits as we can. You can incorporate some vegetables, and if you need to, some cooked foods, because it is definitely hard to transition, especially if you're on a standard American diet, the SAD diet. But as you start to eat lighter, you start to feel better, you start to detoxify. And a lot of people have questions with this or concerns with this, because when they start to go away from the foods that are processed and the things that they shouldn't be eating, dairy and meats and stuff like that, then their body starts to release toxins. And as that happens, those symptomologies could be misconstrued as like a disease or me being sick, but really it's just your body releasing a stagnation of things that had accumulated in your system that shouldn't have been in there in the first place. So as you start to eat more hydrative foods, you should bring more hydration into the body, into the cells. That starts to loosen up some of that accumulated mucus, which hardens, which can lead to tumors and cancer, and you name it, all kinds of lymph stagnation. I'm sure people, if you've ever had a bulge on your lymph node on your neck or on your chest or behind your legs or on your groin, that's because your lymphatic system, which is responsible for getting rid of all the waste. Hang on here, I got a bunch of people passing, is getting rid of waste. How's it going? Winnie, watch out. Winnie, watch out. Come here. A squad of bikers just enjoying the day. It's a beautiful Sunday out here. There's not much snow, so people that would normally be skiing are just out here biking. But yeah, as that you bring more alkalination into the body, more hydration, you start to release some of that stagnation, you start to release some of those toxins, you start to feel better, right? And there's things that can definitely start to expedite that. I'm a huge fan of the herbal kingdom. All the herbal remedies, those are better than supplements, than isolating chemistry. You're getting a full spectrum of natural, flavonoids, vitamins, whatever is essential, and then it's in its natural state. When you start to isolate chemistry, man starts to play God, start to have some issues. So yeah, how you can use those, I mean, just incorporating certain herbs through teas or through tinctures. Tinctures are super good. Or, I use a lot of dry powders because I found you can buy a lot of things bulk and save yourself money if you're able to encapsulate it yourself or just put it in water and drink it directly. You can save a lot of money because a lot of people just make money from the packaging of the herbs. The herbal compounds themselves are not that expensive, but to put them in the little pills is time consuming. So you pay $20 for, a few ounces of, like an ounce of herbs, when you can get a pound for that same price if you were to buy it bulk. So herbs are huge. You want to start to use those, because those again start to help with the astringency and start to help with the detoxification process. And there's a plethora of different herbs. I can go into depth into specific herbs, into specific glandular systems that would affect that. But generally speaking, most herbs, when you start to work on one system, they're all interconnected. It's going to start to help everything. And if you're going to start to work on anything, work on the kidneys, the adrenal, and the colon, would be the main issues of concern for 90% of people. And liver, whatever, there's brain, lungs, adrenals. You can get super into it, the whole nervous system. But starting to bring in more alkaline forming foods into the body. Something as simple as putting baking soda in your water in the morning, or just throughout the day in your water bottle, will alkalize the water bottle, alkalize the water. And within 15 minutes, drinking alkalized water alkalize your blood, which, you start to look at disease. Root cause of disease is when your blood alkalinity gets below a certain point. So you want to get it back to a certain alkalinity so that threshold can remain. And again, obviously, it would be better to not have to be reliant on something like baking soda and just use like a raw organic fruitarian diet and herbal lifestyle and deep breathing, whatever. But that is there's just so many other variables that we're being hit with nowadays, that as many tools as we can have in our arsenal to add to just help is beneficial, right? And that's something that's so cheap and so easily accessible for people that aren't going to, immediately run and give up their diet and make all these crazy changes can start doing on a daily basis that will make a difference in their overall alkalinity and their overall health and well-being. So I touched fruits, most hydrating, alkalizing, alkalinity, herbs, huge. You want to bring herbs into the body, that starts to alkalize. Fasting is huge if you have the ability to. There's a reason that every religion and every spiritual practice, recommends it, is because when you start to give up that attachment to the physical, you become a little more spiritual in essence, and you start to realize how attached to those things we are. It starts to make you more reflective and meditative, because you're not escaping. Generally we use food as an escape. It's so easy to just, I don't want to feel this right now, I'm just going to eat a big burst of sugar, big thing of fat, and feel satiated and happy in the moment. But really that's just numbing the situation of what is what you're potentially running from. So when you start to fast, you start to face yourself, right? And that gives you time to actually cleanse. When you turn off the digestive tract, water fasting is extremely beneficial. But for most people, it would take at least 18 hours to get into a state called autophagy, which is basically spring cleaning for the body. Your body will start to look for cells that are toxic and in need of cleaning, and it'll use that, and it'll clean that. It'll start to go into cleaning. And so generally it takes at least 18 hours, sometimes up to 36 hours to get into a state of autophagy. So could be potential a day and a half, 2-3 days sometimes for people to get in a state of autophagy through water, which water is great. If you do that, I feel it enables you to be more active, and it's a more accessible form for people that are first getting into it. You can start with intermittent fasting. I wouldn't directly go straight into it, but try going 1 meal a day, or 2 meals a day. Wait until 3 o'clock, have a little lunch, and then a big dinner at night. and then try lessening that. And as you do that, your body will start to become less and less reliant on food, and you'll be able to go longer and longer durations. And so water fasting, huge way to cut that, the amount of what you're consuming off. And by doing that, lets your digestive tract actually rest. Our digestive system takes up to, 2/3 of our available energy for the day, depending on how you're eating, and the combinations you're eating. So when you give it the time to just settle, then your body can actually use that energy it would be used for digestion into cleaning and to actually releasing some of those toxins, and getting rid of some of that waste. So water fasting is huge. The highest form of fasting that you can do is dry fasting, which I'm preparing for one right now. And you just really want to hydrate the body and not be very physically active during those times, because that enables your body to really go into state of autophagy really quickly and to burn through a lot of the toxins. It's also one of the best parasite protocols that you can do. You start to realize how deep these demons inside of us have gotten, right? And we need to stop allowing these demons to control us. I read, years ago, I read a book. It's called The Essene Gospel of Peace, and it talks about Christ. I was raised as a Christian, and it talks about Christ being a healer and healing people. The reason he did so much fasting was to get rid of the parasites in the body. And when you start to get rid of the parasites in the body, that's when you can actually go back to your natural state of divinity, right? And when we have this toxic temple and so much accumulated filth, I've done so much harm to my body over the years, and so many bad decisions. It's not just an overnight fix, and that's unfortunately a lot of people don't want to hear that. People are like, oh, I just want to take this pill and I'll be cured forever, get on a med bed, and then my vibration will be cured forever. And that would be great, don't get me wrong. I believe that we do have technology that enables us to do stuff like that, don't get me wrong, but we also have to do the work ourselves, right? And we have to take responsibility for the actions that have put us there in the first place. There are certain natural laws that when you go against them, there are just repercussions naturally for that, right? And so when we start to respect our bodies and respect those laws, then we can go back into a state where we're more harmonious than we have been in the past. So I covered alkalinity, I covered a little bit of fasting, I covered a little bit of herbs, and then there's the detox from people and energy. There's a spiritual component here to every environment you go to, every TV show you listen to, every podcast, every song has a vibration, right? And that vibration overall will affect your overall vibration and how you are feeling and your mood. So when you start to cut out the shit, that means like everything, when you start to take it seriously and you start to take your diet seriously, you start to take what you're consuming seriously, then you start to be more aware of how things affect you. Because you could go into a room, and if you're not aware, you would have no awareness that environment completely affects the cells in your body. And on a spiritual level, on a physical level, it's telling you either this is a healthy environment, uplifting and good, or this is a sickly environment and this is a toxic place for me to be. And when you start to be more aligned to your truth, and you start to see, you start to stop putting so much waste and filth in your body, then you can start to align with people that are more aligned with what your goal is and where you're actually heading in that direction, instead of wasting time with people or things that maybe not of the best for us, and yeah, so I've gone a lot. You know, I know that a lot of people don't have the patience to listen to a video this long. So if you made it this long, I really do appreciate you. I'm trying to share the information I have. I'm trying to be out, you know, to be a light and to be more productive. You know, we can either be consumers or producers in this world. We're all consuming, we're all producing to some extent, but some can be more can use their creative aspect and their voice and their influence to touch others. Other people just don't use that. And hang on one sec. That was close. Oh no. Yeah, so when we start to be more authentic, we can start to voice ourselves more. And yeah, I feel like I have a lot of information, and this is needed right now. People need to start to detoxify their bodies. We've gotten to the point, you know, of most people I talk to haven't ever done a colon cleanse, haven't ever done a parasite cleanse, haven't ever done a juice fast or a water fast or any of it, right? And so for years they've just been mistreating their bodies, eating foods that don't properly assimilate, stacking it on top of already accumulated waste, just allowing it to get to such extreme levels, right? And that's why this world is so sick. That's why this world is so sick, is because we're so full of shit and so full of parasites and so full of toxins that we can't even think for ourselves. Because if we could, we would see clearly that the damage that we're doing to ourselves and to this planet isn't sustainable, and this isn't something that we want to continue to do. So again, if you made it all the way, I appreciate you listening. I got a lot more content that I'm going to be putting out there, just sharing my journey and my path, right? I know a lot of people are looking for answers right now, and there's a lot of fake and there's a lot of falsehood going out. So being able to discern and use our own intuition, you know, I think we all have the ability inherently to, if something vibrates, we're liquid crystals. If something vibrates with us or resonates with us, we feel it in our body, right? So I don't need someone to tell me if something's true or not, because I can feel it in the essence of my soul, and that's how I know something's true. What I know to be true is this path that I'm on. We need to detoxify our bodies. We need to start treating them right. We need to get rid of the parasites in our bodies, because they are manifested in the external realm, controlling our world, taking all of our resources, taking all of our money, all of the control to just a few people at the top, just so that, you know, we're left with the crumbs at the bottom. But it could be such a different world if we just woke up to this power structure and just changed our habits. So I'm trying to be the change that I want to see. I've made a lot of falters. I go up and go down, and I'm not perfect. I have my faults. You know, I'm not claiming to be no guru here, but I am sharing my experiences along the way, and hopefully that will enlighten some people, and hopefully it'll spark some curiosity, and maybe make people have some, you know, changes in their own lives. So again, thanks for listening. Wish you the best.